Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting this panel to speak to you all today. I really want to take a moment and acknowledge each of our panelists who are traveling from across the country to be here today and to share their stories. My name is Mary Kate Wells. I am the program director at the National Council on Independent Living. We are a disability-led grassroots advocacy organization that advances the independent living movement. Part of that is nothing about us without us. And I know you've hopefully heard of that saying, but something I would like to challenge all of you today when you're listening and going into these roundtables is taking a step further. I like to acknowledge and thank the Housing and Service Resource Center for letting Nickel coordinate and speaking with all these presenters, but we need to take it a step forward than just being at the table for folks with disabilities. We need, or I'm going to argue, you all need to have this wealth of information and knowledge and to help inform policy design, accessibility, right? So when you're listening today, just know that we are advocating for accessible and affordable housing. And we're advocating to include these strong advocates in your decision making, right? And I'm excited to have a conversation with them. And you'll hopefully take away some examples of what that looks like. How can you engage the disability community in your planning and the bigger problem solving that you all are trying to adjust? So with that, we're going to start just with a really brief introductions of who's on the panel, and then transition into some question and answer. So I'm going to hand it off to Vicki first. If you just, your names, your state, and identities that have informed your housing journey.
Sure. Can everybody hear me? My name is Vicki Landers. I use she, they pronouns. I am a disabled queer person, and I have experienced homeless a few times in my life. I live with bipolar disorder. It is and I always say I live with it because there are alternatives. And homelessness has always been a huge factor in my life because of the fact that as somebody with bipolar disorder, we have the unfortunate commonality of not wanting to be on our meds, and not being on your meds cancels you, and it's a barrier for getting into housing. Most of the housing ask you to be medicated, that you have to be in counseling, and those are just unnecessary barriers for folks who need that. I am very happy to be here. I am here because of Centers for Independent Living. And because of that, I am the founder and director of Disability Pride Pennsylvania, which is an advocacy-based organization that fights for the things that we need. And I'm also a board member at the National Council on Independent Living. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. And also one of the reason inviting, and I'm just going to model for you all, invited Vicki because, even though Pennsylvania isn't one of the states in the partner accelerator, it's important to have peers supporting peers, right? And so thank you, Vicki, for joining us with us on that. So Louis, would you just quickly just introduce your name, state, and where identities that you might be bringing to this conversation?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Y'all look nice today. Good morning, Grand Rising. First, I'd just like to thank some people for getting me here. I'd like to thank Miss Esther Wright, Mary Kate Wells, as you know, Miss Shannon, and Miss Rochelle from Independent Now, Miss Stephanie and Miss Claudia. They're my property manager at the apartment that I have. Miss Stacy Tobin, Miss Givens, and my son who's out there. And also, I'd like to thank this gentleman who helped me with this tie. I'm 55 years old, and yes, I'm not ashamed to ask someone to help me with this tie. And I think it looks good on me, you know, hey, so. Yeah, so let me tell you a little bit about my story. My name is Louis Sweeney. I was born in DC, Walter Reed. I come from a strong line of women. My two sisters and my mother, I never really knew my dad. I knew him, I seen him once or twice, but I didn't know him. So it led me to the streets looking for some type of father, which led me to drugs all my teenage years. I'm gonna make this fast because everybody got to speak to. And it led me to prison. I went to prison all my teenage years. But this last time I went to jail in 1997 and I did 9 years and that changed my life. While there, I got my GED. I scored the highest in that prison. I became a tutor. I got my barber's license certificate in prison. I came home in 2007. I have not been back to prison since then. And since I came home, I woke up with a crook in my neck. I didn't know what it was. I was very athletic, and it turned into, it's still that way now. I was diagnosed with ankylospondylosis. That's a disease where you come bone on bone. You have a thing in your neck like a rubber band. Mine goes that way. So very painful, changed my entire life. The way you get in a car, the way you get in a tub, the bed, everything changed. And I became homeless and with that. And I ended up living in my mom's couch. Thank God for that couch. So to make a long story short, I got on disability, but the money that I was getting, I couldn't find a place, nowhere. So my sister's husband, he had his leg amputated and he was living in Dundalk and we did a housewarming. And I said, well, how did you get this nice place? And he said, I'm in a program called Independent Living. And boy, I cannot say enough about independent living. They saved my life. So I entered that program and two things stuck out to me in that program. When I first went in there, it was a picture of my brother-in-law on the wall. They have a picture of everybody that gets an apartment. And I said, I am going to be on that wall. And secondly, everyone in there was disabled, everyone. And even the director was blind. And I said, I'm in here complaining about my neck and these people. It was just so inspirational to see all these people that was working for me. And I'm complaining about my neck. Anyway, I ended up in the program for a year and a half. And I was getting a little down because I was like, well, when is they gonna call me? So finally I got the call from Miss Rochelle. She said, Mr. Sweeney, we got an apartment for you. I said, yeah, where is it? She said, St. Mary's County. I said, where is that? She said, it's an hour and a half from you. We chose you because you have a license and a car. So I was like, no, So I said, well, let me drive down there. So I didn't have a job, so why not? I drove down there, and I tell you, it went from DC to, I started seeing cows and farms, and I'm driving, and it takes an hour and a half. So I said, this is a whole new life here. So when I pulled up to my apartment complex, oh my God, the grass everything was just, I knew that God sent me to this place. And the property manager, who I thanked, she was so wonderful and cheerful. And when she walked me to this apartment, it was fit for disabled. It was fit for me, but anybody that's disabled. The cabinets are low. They have a washing machine, dryer, dishwasher. But the most important thing for me, the bathroom, the tub, it has rails all around where I have no problem getting up in there, pulling myself up, even though I exercise still. And the toilet has rails. So I was just so grateful and thankful for this. I've been in this apartment for 2 years. And I'm so grateful for all of you have spoke before, and all the Congress people. They're putting in a lot of work. And homelessness, like you said, we should get rid of it. Everybody needs a place to stay. I'm gonna end with this. A year ago, I was in a bad accident. I almost died. I broke my spine in 3 places. I broke 5 ribs. I broke my right hand, and my left knee was crushed. They said I would never walk again. They said if I did walk, it would be with a limp. But I'm here to tell you that God can turn a trash can into gold. I'm walking. I drove here. And there's nothing wrong other than me going to the doctors. I have a doctor's appointment today, but I just thank God because they said I wouldn't walk, but as you all can see, I'm here, I'm walking, and you know, I'm here to advocate for the disabled that can't see, that can't hear, that can't walk, and can't talk. Thank you.
God bless. Can you guys hear me? I first give honor to God, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the precious Holy Spirit, and every angel is encamped around us. And I always give God the glory in my service. I know it's because of God that I live. And I know it's because of God that you're here. And I'm looking at some angels in here. The spirit in here is so sweet. Can you guys do me a favor? Just give God some praise where you are. Come on, we can do better than that. Each and every one of us has been handpicked. Many called, few are chosen. You guys are chosen. I feel the love and the power that's in this room, the compassion. I was born and raised here in Washington, D.C. I'm Donnell Gardner, and I was born into homelessness. My father abandoned us when we were kids. My mother, she fended for herself, 3 kids at 21 years of age. She happened to go to the prom with my brother's father, and she snuck him in the basement, and she had sex and had a baby. So my grandmother kicked her out. So behind that, she had to fend for herself. And I thank God that she's here. She's still living. She's 87 years old. And she taught us a whole lot. As a kid, I didn't know anything about homelessness. I would see people on the street. I would see them at the doors and begging. I would say to myself, what's wrong with these people? Why they don't have a place to live? Or can't they go to work? Not knowing that one day that I would give the same testimony and being homeless over 15 years of my life, being incarcerated like this gentleman, 19 surgeries, and having a host of drama and trauma in my life. See, homelessness, it sucks. We're adults, and I'm just gonna be straight. As a kid, it sucks. As an adult, it sucks. Housing is a human right. Where this country get off, we have hundreds and billions in dollars. We can sit everywhere else, so I don't mind that. That's okay. But what about our backyard? What about our front yard? What about helping the people here? I did the math. A few $1 billion will clean it up. When we get rid of homelessness, we'll bring it down to the lowest denominator. We can always have people that's homeless because of a fire, a flood, or domestic violence. So there'll be some people that will be homeless from time to time, but not as many. We have veterans that are homeless and families here, right here in Washington, D.C., over 5, they go to fight for us so we have a place to call home, and they come back, they don't have a place to call home. I'm here to share with you how the pandemic affected my housing. I have my own business, and I'm sure all of us were affected through the pandemic. I want to tell you that the pandemic caused a different type of homelessness. I found myself on the street. I found myself in hotels, and I realized there were people out there with me had never experienced homelessness like I had, never been in a soup kitchen, never slept in their car, loss of job, loss of money, no unemployment, and that's how they became homeless. We have a different type of homeless people now. We don't have a lot of tent people and a lot of individuals who's veterans and been out there. We have those, but we have a new type of homelessness. And I'm just here to let you know that, God is good, man. And it takes love. Somebody say love.
Love.
Come on, say it again.
Love.
From your heart.
Love.
I believe with the right drop of water, which is love, we can fill the ocean. So with that, God bless you and thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I want to make sure we get to some of our questions too. So Olivia, when you introduce yourself, can I ask you the question now and you can answer, introduce yourself and answer the question?
Sure.
Awesome. All right. So, and some have already shared answering their questions on their own, so you don't even need me as a moderator. So Olivia, acquiring a disability can put people with disabilities at risk for institutionalization in the nursing home. From your experience, how do we ensure that people with disabilities can live independently and participate fully in their community? So if you could introduce yourself and share a little bit there.
Sure. My name's Olivia Richard. I hail from Boston, Massachusetts. I found myself homeless the first time as a result of domestic violence from my parents, and then got an apartment, had that apartment pretty successfully. And then on February 26th of 2009, I found myself in a hospital, and I had sustained a T5 complete spinal cord injury. So I ended up in a nursing home because complete injuries, they write you off. You're not eligible for rehabilitation. I was 25. So that was fun. Let the dementia patients onto the patio in order to get thrown out. It was fun. And went back to an inaccessible apartment. So I think one of the ways that we really need to address ending up in facility care is by production of accessible housing. And deeply affordable accessible housing. Income-based accessible housing works. What was the question again?
Yeah. Let's see. So, how do we ensure that people with disabilities can live independently and participate fully in their community?
Okay. Creating accessible housing that is affordable and integrated. So you want to create this accessible housing. You don't want to create buildings that are only accessible housing for folks with disabilities, because then you've just created an institution. What you want to do is you want to create housing that allows folks to have choice in their services, choice in where they want to live. Mixing communities is the best way to do it. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Olivia. And then I'm going to pass it on to Lindsay. And when you, and Vicky, I'm going a little off script, just so you know. Yeah. We're just readjusting so we get to hear from everyone. So Lindsay, when you introduce yourself, could you also talk a little bit and from your experience from, you've taken a leadership role throughout your housing journey and advocate for folks with lived experience, specifically to help with policy and programming in your community. How can people with lived experience work with policy and programming folks in developing these solutions?
Hi, my name is Lindsay Pacheco and I come from Hawaii. So we've traveled, took us an entire day just to get here. So please. I will probably ask you again, what is the question? Because I will forget.
That's okay.
But so I come with 7 years of lived experience. I was homeless for 7 years in Honolulu with a large encampment known as Kapo'eo Kaka'ako, which means the people of Kaka'ako. Within that time, I was recognized as a leader of the encampment, 1 out of 4. We had done a lot of organizing and advocating and starting to work with our neighborhood boards, you know, working with getting to know our representatives and our senators. After that, I had finally gotten housed about 4 years ago in May of 2020. I am currently on a Housing First housing voucher, which literally saved my life. Without my Housing First housing voucher, I would not be sitting here in front of you. I do not have any physical disabilities. I sit here and I represent those with the invisible disabilities. I suffer from depression, substance use disorder, PTSD, domestic violence, and sexual abuse. So you can't see my disabilities, but they're there. Excuse me, I am nervous. My anxiety is going through the roof.
So can
And
you
I'm trying to keep it there.
talk
Doing
about a
great.
little bit the lived experience?
Yes.
Faro?
So in getting housed, I was part of my introduction, and I'll get to that.
Yep.
In getting housed, I was able to finally get back into college. I graduated with 1 college degree in 2022. I'm working on a bachelor's in social work at the moment.
All right, all right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yes.
I will
yes.
graduate this fall semester finally, so yay for that. I am also 3 years clean and sober. I will make 3 years in 2 days.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yes.
Throughout all of that and this last 4 years, I was able to form and organize the Oahu Lived Experience Council, which is a speakers bureau of 12 houseless individuals. 2 of us are currently housed, and we all represent 4 different encampments throughout the island of Oahu. With the Oahu Lived Experience Council, we were able to speak at our own conferences, our statewide conferences on homelessness. We have been able to, thanks to a position that I was able to get hired in through government last year at the level of at our governor's level, basically. I was able to use my skills and my experiences in lived experience to bring folks to bring our Oahu Lived Experience Council to the level of policymakers and legislators. And in doing so, we learned that not very many representatives or government officials have had conversations with actual lived experience folks. And in learning this, in bringing these conversations to the table, we've learned that it's a game changer. It really changes the direction of people's thoughts and the way that they try to come up with solutions for our homeless populations. Oftentimes I share with folks, you can't create a solution for somebody experiencing homelessness or disabilities until you've actually spoken to them and have gotten to know what their needs are.
True.
It's easy for us to come up with some kind of band-aid solution thinking it's going to work, but is it really going to work? So to answer your question, being able to create more opportunities from higher levels, not just entry levels, and I'm talking about employment positions, creating more opportunities for folks that require people to have either lived experience equal to the education, because it's throughout these years, or as long as I've been alive, right? You have a college education, you have some kind of education, that's your golden ticket to get a better job. Well, what about the folks that are experienced through life that equal that amount of education? Because you can't teach what we learned through our life experiences. You can't teach that in school. We've lived it in order to be able to teach it. In order for us to be able to sit here and share with you, this is literally our lives. You can't teach that anywhere. Keeping in mind that folks with lived experience will come with their own set of challenges, and recognizing those challenges and actually being flexible to those challenges and accommodating those challenges, it's going to be a game changer, and it's going to be a breadwinner for everyone straight across the board, not just financially, but internally, emotionally, psychologically. It's rewarding within its own. Paving that pathway for folks to be able to come and demonstrate and share their lived experiences so that folks can actually make a difference. It works.
And Lindsay, I love that, I want to emphasize your point too, is all these folks on the panel are sharing their stories, but these are their stories, right? And I think a really good example of how to make it an intentional relationship is paying people, right? Employing people, putting people in decision-making positions, So I think just when we're thinking of equity and not just someone at the table, really just considering that, when you're writing your grants and programs, build in a consumer advisory council or a lived experience position or community outreach position. So there's many ways to, Lindsay's just naturally take this leadership role, but, just so it's a little transferable. And jumping off of that, Vicki, I'm going to come back to you if that's okay. And you started talking about mental health disabilities and how they're often stigmatized when addressing housing issues and putting unnecessary barriers. Some examples of this, and Lindsay alluded to it, like you have to be in recovery for X amount of time. You have to be in treatment. I know in the housing world, you have to have supported case management, right? But that sometimes creates some really unnecessary barriers. Could you just talk a little bit more about that, Vicki?
Sure. So as my experience, is that the housing, I became homeless because of the fact that I was unmedicated. I would not, I did not feel that I should be medicated just to get housing. And that it was I went to a support group, something that somebody just kind of was like, hey, you should go and talk to people like yourself. So we got together what I realized was that this whole community of folks with psychiatric disabilities were homeless because of the fact that they're the barriers that are put in front of us to be able to get housing.
Yes.
Being homeless, you don't have a security deposit. Being homeless, having to be medicated, it is our choice whether we want to be medicated or not. We should not have to be medicated. I think that one of the places that I tried to get into, they said that I had to do peer counseling with one of their counsel. I don't think that it's your choice whether I take peer counseling or not. I just found that every time I turned around, there was a stipulation that was a barrier for me to be able to get housing. And so I do a lot of work in advocating about, taking away those barriers. And people need houses, whether it doesn't matter who you are, like what's your circumstance, you have the right to have a house, to be in housing. And it shouldn't be because you are doing this, this, and this. I understand income limits. And I think, like Olivia said, income-based housing is the way to go. Integrated, to me, I believe that if you build everything with universal design in mind, then anybody can move into that apartment or that house.
True.
And that would solve a lot of the issues that we have, especially in Philadelphia where I live. But these stipulations that are put upon folks who have, drug use disorder, substance abuse, all of these things, those barriers are causing more and more homelessness every day.
Thank you. And Vicky, do you want to maybe bring the question back to Dawn?
Sure. So Dawn, the COVID-19 pandemic affected many people's housing. And I know you touched upon your experience. How did the pandemic affect your specific housing situation?
Pandemic did a number on me, which I'm sure has done a number on your family members and individuals in it as well. My situation, I had my own business. I'm a shoe cobbler. I fix and repair shoes. And I had some of the biggest contracts here in Washington, D.C. I did the Mystics, the Capitals, the Redskins, and Capitals shoes, the players and coaches. And when the pandemic hit, it shut down after 10 years. And I found myself going through my savings. I was also the caretaker for my godfather who died in 2020. And I found myself on the street. His daughter came down. She took over the house. She wanted everything. I'm sure people here, how family acts when somebody dies. And she just ran havoc. She filed court order on me, restraining order, said I had weapons in the basement and I was dangerous. She filed it through virtual because no courts were open, so I could not fight it. I had the police waiting on me one day because I was taking care of my mother. I would go there 2 days to help her, and I would come back with my godfather. My mother would tell me, well, you need to spend more time with him. He had throat cancer. He was a veteran. And he also had a liver transplant, post-traumatic syndrome, a lot of things going on with him. So I found myself on the street. I slept in my car for a while until they came and got my car because I couldn't pay the car note. And then I stayed with my mom for 2 months, and that didn't go well because she's on a fixed income. So I reached out to the homeless hotline in PG County, Maryland, and I kept calling and calling and calling. And to let you know that the work that you guys are doing in service work, it works because it helped me. But a lot of homeless people are not persistent. A lot of homeless people cannot advocate for themselves. being an advocate, being a speaker from the National Coalition for Homeless since 1999, I was able to navigate. Everybody don't have those tools. So I was able to reach in my toolbox and navigate for myself. Now, hadn't I done that, I'd probably still be on the street. Now, they led me to a hotel, which during the pandemic, we supposed to wear masks, but picture this, we're 2 in a room with a mask, with no mask. I'm like, I mean, what's going on with that? But like they say, well, you know, the homeless people, you're homeless, you either accept it or reject it, which is a bad attitude and a bad way to tell a homeless person that you got to wear these clothes or you got to go here because you're homeless. That right there, we need to fight. Also, I'm a TA provider for HUD and just got finished working on human trafficking and labor trafficking.
Yes.
There's so much going on and things elevated through the pandemic, but God put us on notice though.
Yes.
The Lord put the whole world on notice that we got to come back to family. We got to come back treating people right and having compassion so that when people reach out to us, we don't put them in a box or we don't categorize them. We listen to them and we have compassion for them. And it's not one size fit all. My situation was different from the next person. My roommates, I had 3 of them. They all got kicked out because they would not conform to the counseling. They would not conform to the medication. I did everything I could because I already know that the service providers, if you reach the right one that has that love and compassion, you can work your way through. So I was able to receive one of the housing vouchers and that Biden had sent out maybe, I think, over 700,000 vouchers. Maryland received 177. I was one of that, 177. So I'm still under my voucher. And I thank God because it took perseverance and it took individuals like yourself in here to help somebody. Can you help everybody? No. But we help one person at a time, one family at a time. And that's how we end homelessness.
So we only have a few more minutes. I know when I was talking to everyone, we could have these conversations all day, but I know most of the folks will be here after this panel that, feel free to chat up us. And so I just wanted to finish off with Lewis. I know you started talking about it and we have about 2 or 3 minutes. If you could just talk a little bit more about how you worked with your local Center for Independent Living to obtain both accessible and affordable housing. And the reason we're highlighting, the Centers for Independent Living, kind of what Allison was talking about, is part of the network. It's one resource that you all could use. In each of your states, there's over 400 Centers for Independent Living across the country. So Lewis, if you could close us out on like how you got connected with your local Center for Independent Living, and then we'll open it up for some Q&A.
Yes. Everyone up here, you sounded so good. It was amazing. Y'all look so beautiful out there. But yeah, independent living. Like I said, they saved my life. I got involved through it through my brother-in-law. He had his leg amputated, and like I told you all earlier, we were going to a housewarming. First of all, I didn't even know he had an apartment. And my sister was like, well, we're going to take him some stuff. And when we got there, I said, he don't need nothing in here. He has everything. And I was just so amazed. I said, how did you get this? Because I had been trying to, I'm a very persistent person. If I want something, I'm gonna go get it. So I had been trying for years to find a place, but like I said, no one would take me. And I joined that program. And when I got there, I told you I was so ecstatic to see so many people with disabilities willing to help us. I even wrote Congress. I was doing everything. And it's amazing how you can be in DC and the White House is right there, but there's so many homeless people surrounding that president's house. And Independent now, it's open and it's on a website. I tell everybody about it. I'm so ecstatic to help the next person because God is love. And I believe with godly love, with patience and staying persistent, you're going to elevate. And Independent Now is that tool. They have the people, they have the resources. Like I said, I was there for 1.5 years. But while there, you just didn't go there. They had programs teaching us how to do applications, which I was already familiar with. I read a lot of books. But every month, I went two times a week, and I was just learning things and being patient. and just waiting on my chance for the place. So like I said, after periods of time of doing that, you get reluctant and you wonder, I mean, are they going to ever call me? Is this real? And I got the call, and I'm still in my apartment right now to this day. I love my temple. I turned it into my temple. You know, my son, he's out here. He never called me dad, and it bothered me. I wasn't there for him, plain and simple. I was running the streets and in and out of prison and on drugs, so I couldn't blame him. But once I changed my life, you know, when you change your life, you expect everybody, hey, I'm here, open the door. So he never called me dad. And last year on my birthday, he said, happy birthday, Dad. And I got so emotional. He said, I'm going to break that generational curse that I had on you, because I see the man that you are today. It wasn't the man that I saw when I was growing up. And it touched me so much that, you know, today he's my best friend. You know, I just came so far, but without people like you all, without these Congress people advocating for us, you know, that's why I'm so strong on advocating, because like the brother said, some of us can't speak, can't walk, can't talk, and can't hear. And yeah, I have a spinal disease, but like I said, my spine was broken in 3 places 11 months ago. My 5 ribs was broke, my right hand was broke, and my left knee was crushed. And they said, you're going to be paralyzed. And I said, oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And you can see 11 months later, I drove here 2 hours from where I live. And I just don't, I'm not stopping. I see, you know, God taking me to way more higher levels than this, because someone has to be the voice for us. And independent living is a real space and tool, and HUD. You know, I don't want to leave them out. HUD is a good balance as well. But like he said, you know, the people that are homeless, you have to have some compassion, you know, and some of us don't have it. You know, we just feel as though you put them in a box. And like he said, just give them a place, no mask. Today, I love each and every one of you. I love like I love my neighbor. You're supposed to love yourself, your neighbor like you love yourself.
Come on.
And that's what I do. I give out food. I went, before I came here Tuesday, I went to the pantry. I had a whole trunk full of, they had all this meat and food, because down where I'm at, I'm with the Amish, I'm with everything. They have it.
Yeah.
They have it going on down there. You know, I went fishing. I'm a city guy. I never went fishing. I was fishing in Solomon's Island Saturday, you know, and I was like, God, this is good. So I'm gonna leave you with this. I always say this affirmation: godly love with positive energy creates elevation. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. And just context, Independence Now is one of the centers for independent living in Maryland. And it's all community-based. I just want to make sure it's not, there's non-residential too. So just make sure clarity. And so then I'm going to open it up. First, thank you to our panelists, and see if we probably have time for 2 questions or so. And I know Jean's in the back with Mike. Any?
Nobody.
Got one over there.
No, they got other questions.
First of all, I want to thank you, because Louis Sweeney is my nephew. What a wonderful guy he is. But it's just amazing how
auntie.
you all set up the program that he was in. And, you know, just the forethought that you all gave, because in his apartment, the way it's set up with his disability, I'm disabled too, and found myself in a homeless situation due to unforeseen occurrences from a family member. So homelessness can happen to anyone, and I wind up with a voucher. And so I'm doing well today. But I am truly amazed as to the way that you all set the apartment up. Not only set the apartment up for him, you all made it provisions where he can get furniture. And I was shocked, because he had the identical furniture to me, French provision furniture. And so I just want to say, thank you all. That's what I want to tell you. Thank you so much for taking the time out for him, because he has progressed tremendously. And you all really done a good job in reference to my nephew. So I just want to say thank you.
Hi, Auntie. I didn't even know you were out there. I love you. I just had to throw this. My aunt and I have the same birthday, July the 7th. I didn't see you. I didn't know, but I knew you were going to come. I love you and thank you.
Any other questions, comments, thoughts? Yeah, so over here. Oh, no, no, wait, let's use the mic just for accessibility. Thank you.
It's right there behind you.
Good morning, and thank you for your comments and contribution thus far. It's been wonderful. I know many of you have talked about the staff and how people respond and the need for compassion. If you had to share with us as the folks who's hiring those people, what are some of the trades training that you would recommend that we make sure that we do to make sure that the people, when you come vulnerable and needing support, that you get treated the way you believe that you should be and that we should treat?
Yeah, Olivia?
I would say one of the big things that I would be looking for is a commitment to independent living philosophy. And independent living principles where you enable choice and respect dignity of risk, which is a concept that if a person's going to fail, they're going to fail on their own terms. And they're going to succeed on their own terms. And allowing people to make choices that you may not necessarily agree with, but it's their choice as long as it's informed.
I'll add,
Yeah.
I think that a lot of folks could use, and again, from somebody with lived experience, some disability etiquette, some training. I do a lot of disability etiquette and how to be an ally. And I think it goes a long way with, I mean, just to start off with language, using preferred language, the things that, making sure that you ask, there are a lot of, especially with different caseworkers and different supports coordinators and things like that, like asking somebody, like if you, to touch my walker, like having a conversation about how my walker is, is a part of me, and that it's like, just like coming up and touching me. I don't want you to do that. Like, I don't want you to touch my walker, but ask. A lot of people feel like it's just like, you have no, it's just like, well, we have to do this. So here you are, and we're going to do that. But I think that a lot of, really focus like on disability, and how somebody should be, moved, somebody who has different disabilities, and how, so that way they can also talk and teach the folks that they're going to be working with. It needs to start at the top, and so that way it trickles down.
I'd like to add to that question. It was a wonderful question. I would personally, I would give them a course on etymology. Etymology is the choice of using words. See, words can hurt someone or it can help someone. So if you train a person on how to speak to a homeless person, most of us in this room, when you see a homeless person, you get afraid. And fear means false evidence appearing real. It doesn't exist. It only is indoctrinated into us. Just like with the thing that happened 2 years ago. Everybody was scared, the whole world. Everybody ran out and got shots. Some job said, if you don't get a shot, you're fired. Well, I didn't get a shot. I'm not afraid, and I wasn't going to get it under no circumstance. Are you going to give me a shot? and you just came up with the disease and the shot was done 30 days later. No way. I already know something don't add up with that. But yeah, back to your thing, I would give you a course on etymology to teach us how to learn how to talk properly to a person. Just because a person is homeless or in a wheelchair, I have a niece that's in a wheelchair. They said she wouldn't live past 5. My mother took her out the hospital. She's 26 today, and I love her, and I know how to deal with her. So you have to have a course where a person knows how to interact with someone, because you can walk up to a person and say the wrong thing and scare them, or a homeless person, they already out there, they don't have any self-esteem. You can walk up to them with a McDonald's hamburger and say, how you doing? And get open up. It's all in the way that you present yourself. So that question that you ask is a major question. So I would say train them on an etymology course and a course of the mind, because every one of us don't know how to react to someone homeless. Even me, you see somebody, they have an odor or they're doing things and you be reluctant. Oh, wow. But I walk with Jehovah, God, the creator. So I don't have any fear. I mean, come on, I've been to prison where they're killing people, you know? So come on, I've survived that. And you think I survived all that to come out of here and survive everything that I got to not want to come and advocate for a person that needs a place to live because of the way they smell or look or can't do something? No, God is love. So if we want to help the next person, show some love and take a course on how to choose our words in the proper manner.
Awesome.
Also, I'd like to add that.
And sorry, I just, Lindsay's been
Oh, no,
patiently
it's
waiting.
okay,
If she
it's
could
okay.
just jump in.
It's okay. I just wanted to add on to what my fellow panelists have shared already. It goes back to what I was saying earlier about creating that position that requires someone with lived experience. Also creating training opportunities for peer support specialists. They may not necessarily have the lived experience, but if you train somebody in how to work with somebody with disabilities, with houselessness, it builds that compassion and that respect, that level of respect in them. I'm a huge fan of lived experience because, again, like I said earlier, you can't teach what we've lived through, but that person with the lived experience will bring that compassion to the table. And it's going to be amazing because it's going to be compassion like you've never seen or experienced before. It's unconditional. And that's what we look for. We look for the people that have the unconditional compassion and empathy and, you know, care in what we do and what they do and how they work with folks.
And I just like to add, also put these navigators and counselors in their proper position in their lane, because everybody don't have compassion. Everybody are not a good listener. Everybody's not good at everything. So you find those individuals, if lived experience or educated, however you want to put it, and you give that person, you listen to the homeless person, you listen to them. I was a kid homeless. You listen to them. You got to listen to them. You got to be that shoulder to crowd. You got to be that listening ear and hear them out all the way to the end, regardless if they schizophrenic or if they bipolar, hear them out. And don't give them false hope. Just tell them the truth. We don't have vouchers for everybody. We don't have housing for everybody. The homeless person can accept the truth now, but the false hope and these services that you have them on paper, but you get to them and they don't exist. Not everybody wants not everybody want a handout. We want a hand up. Everybody needs somebody, and everybody needs the truth. Just tell them the truth. We can deal with it. I've dealt with it. Don, I'm sorry, we don't have a place. Okay, will it hurt? Yes, it will. But at least you told me the truth. You didn't tell me come back next week and we'll find something for you. Or go over here to the soup kitchen and I get there, there's no food there. Or go, if we got transportation for you and transportation don't show up. Be honest with these people. Be honest with the individual. If you don't have the services, tell them you don't have the services and give them other avenues, other options. So then they can work on themselves. But to give them false hope and to give them a falsehood, it's not fair to them because people are hoping and praying. We had over 56,000 people committed suicide last year. That's a damn shame. Why? I don't know all the reasons why, but I know they lost hope in God. They lost hope in themselves and service providers, and they lost hope in people. It's going to take each and every one of us in any position that you're in to be honest, to be transparent, and walk these people through it. If you don't have it, just tell them. I apologize, Mr. Gardner, but we can't help you today. But you keep on, coming back. if you need some food or if you need, I'm gonna send you a place to go. And that's what homeless people, when I talk to homeless people and I go out every week, I go encampments, I stay in hotels and I talk to people. Go out to the places. Don't just put homeless people in a hotel. It's got mold, mildew, mice, rats in the place. You never went there to check it out. Or because you homeless, you got to accept this. No, where we get off thinking that because you're homeless, you got to wear this, you got to wear that because you're homeless. I had a counselor tell me, well, Mr. God, if you don't accept this place, then I hope you got a plan to leave because they're going to put you out. I said, you know what? I'm not going to accept the place because I researched it. I sent you the email where the tenants was complaining about the mold, the mildew, the rats and the roaches. No, I'm not going to accept it. I don't have a 30-day plan, but I know God does. And that's why I left it. He gonna say, well, I turned around and said, sir, but the counselor, I said, if you were homeless, would you take it? He told me, well, see, that's the problem now. I said, would you take it? Well, how can I go to court and fight in court? And then the judge said, well, didn't you know it was mold, mildew, in the place where you moved in? Yes, sir. What can I say? There's no fight. So we got to be transparent. We got to be honest to individuals, everybody. Even on the opposite side, I tell homeless people, watch your attitude. You can't talk to these counselors and these navigators like that. You got to have compassion too for them. They're coming out risking their lives in the campus. They're coming out doing their job, overworking, underpaid. Some of the people that's serving us, they got caseloads of 75. I tell homeless people, have some patience. So it's work both sides. God bless.
I like that.
Well, I think we're out of time and, but I just wanted to say before handing it, is Ryan coming up? Okay. Just thank you y'all for traveling, for being here. I greatly appreciate it and honored that I can have this conversation. So I'll turn it back over to Ryan.
Yes.
Wow, that panel was incredible. I think we all just need to really sit with that for a moment. I want to thank the National Council for Independent Living for organizing this panel. And I want to thank Mary Kate and Vicky for moderating it. And I want to thank all of our panelists for all of the insights and lived experiences that you shared with us today. I think everyone in this room hopefully has learned something and has had an aha moment. Raise your hand if you've learned something from the panel we just heard that you're going to take away with you for the next 2 days. So I want to thank our panelists. Just all the information and your heartfelt lived experiences has resonated in this room, and we're going to carry it with us for the next 2 days as we work to make progress. I think we heard from my federal colleagues earlier today that we've made a lot of progress and we're doing a lot of great work. But I think we heard from the panel that there's still a lot of progress that we need to make. And so we really look forward to working with you over the next 2 days to really figure out how we can actualize that progress and how we can really do it from a person-centered approach.